So NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is speaking out today, saying that he cannot rule out that Bakhmut may fall in Ukraine in the coming days. The battle there has been the epicenter of some of the fiercest and bloodiest clashes in the latest chapter of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Ukraine's military, though, is not ready to surrender the city yet, claiming that the Russians are taking heavy losses there, including losing 100 soldiers in the past 24 hours. Melissa Bell has the very latest on this from Kyiv. Melissa, what are you learning?
Kate, tonight Bakhmut continues to hold, but really only just. We've been seeing those images of Evgeny Prigozhin speaking from the World War II monument closer to the center of Bakhmut, where his men had planted a flag earlier this week. And what the leader of the Wagner mercenary group, and we now know from Western sources just how important those Wagner mercenaries have been in the progress being made in Bakhmut, being supported by Russian regular artillery, but really being crucial to their ability virtually to capture the town. Here's what Evgeny Prigozhin had to say earlier today.
The only request, take out the elderly, children, and send here normal combat-ready units. We need to deal with you here, now.
That was a chilling message sent, even as for the time being, Ukraine says it will battle on. We wait to hear more about if and when it decides on that tactical retreat. We've also been hearing from those Western officials, Kate, and I think this is important, that beyond those forces in and around Bakhmut, it does not appear that Russia, according to them, has that many reserves elsewhere in Luhansk and Donetsk, casting doubt on their ability beyond Bakhmut to cause or to launch any substantial offensive action in the coming days and weeks. In a separate but parallel story, we've been learning more, Kate, about the Nord Stream attack. You remember the Nord Stream pipeline back in September saw an explosion, a sabotage effort. It is the subject of an ongoing investigation by German authorities. According to New York Times report, they say that they believe that, according to sources, it may have been perpetrated by a group aligned with the aims of Kyiv, but not actually backed by Kyiv, not run by Kyiv, an independent group acting on its behalf and in its name. Now, that's been pushed back on since by the head of NATO, by the German authorities that are leading the investigation, Kate. But it is an extra and interesting twist in a saga that has gone on for so many months as we try to figure out what happened. And unusually, Kyiv and Moscow have also seemed to agree on the fact that this isn't something that they both deny. One of the rare points of agreement that we have between them at the moment, Kate.
Yeah, very rare. Great point. It's good to see you, Melissa. Thank you. Joining me now for more on all of this is the former NATO Secretary General, former Prime Minister of Denmark, Anders Fogh Rasmussen. Secretary General, it's great to see you again. Thanks for coming in. On Bakhmut, we heard not only what Stoltenberg says about Bakhmut today, but we also have President Zelensky defending the strategy in Bakhmut in a new interview with my colleague Wolf Blitzer. Let me play just a moment of this interview for you.
This is tactical for us. We understand that after Bakhmut, they could go further. They could go to Kramatorsk, to Slavyansk. It would be an open road for the Russians after Bakhmut to other towns in Ukraine, in the Donetsk direction, in the east of Ukraine.
Secretary General, do you think devoting time and resources and equipment to that fight in Bakhmut is worth it for Ukraine?
I'm not going to interfere with Ukrainian decisions on their military strategy and tactics. That's for the Ukrainians to decide. What I think we should do as Western countries is to deliver all the offensive weapons that the Ukrainians need to withstand the Russian offensive, but also to retake lost land.
A year into this war, do you think they have what they need to pull off a win?
No, they don't have what they need. We need to deliver much more longer range, much heavier weapons. We need to deliver long range missiles, heavy battle tanks, eventually also fighter jets. I think we should deliver everything the Ukrainians need to win this war. It's in our interest, it is in the US national interest to put a quick end to this war because that would give the US more room of maneuver to address the real long-term global challenge, namely China and the Indo-Pacific. And the best way to put a quick end to this war is to deliver all the weapons the Ukrainians need.
If that is the case, and it seems logical what you're saying, give them the weapons they need and they're asking for in order to help them win and hold their country. But why then, if you can take me behind the scenes in the rooms that you are in, President Biden is still a no on F-16s when we're talking about fighter jets. Why do you think Biden still resists? What do you think he's missing here?
Well, actually, I don't understand why we have all those, I would call them self-imposed restrictions on weapon deliveries. The fact is that the Russians has just moved their missile launchers beyond the reach of the Ukrainians. So it doesn't make sense that we have restrictions on our weapon deliveries. One argument I often hear is the risk of provoking Putin to give him incentives to escalate the war. But the fact is that Putin is the one who escalates, and 1 or 2 steps behind, we deliver heavier and heavier weapons. But the fact is, you cannot win a war by an incremental step-by-step approach. You have to surprise, you have to overwhelm your adversary.
So the security compact for Ukraine that you authored, we've discussed the contours of it somewhat on the show previously. I'm curious, where does that stand right now? Do you have buy-in from nations to pull this off and secure Ukraine's long-term security as you so desire?
Well, I'm working hard to create some momentum, and I think we have had some success in that. We have seen leaders, including Prime Minister Sunak of Great Britain, he has indicated that the UK will work in the run-up to the NATO summit in Vilnius in July to produce security assurances for Ukraine. I've also heard other leaders agree that we need to have a more long-term perspective that would include security guarantees for Ukraine so that Russia can never, ever repeat the invasion of Ukraine.
Secretary General, I really appreciate your time. It's always good to see you. Thank you.